Alright, let's talk about it. The Diablo 4 most recent big update, the Gauntlet. Why are most people upset, and why is the Diablo community kind of mad about the most recent update? And it really comes down to the Gauntlet being undercooked and underdelivered in terms of what we kind of expected. So we knew it was going to be some sort of thing with the leaderboard, but what is the point of the Gauntlet? I was actually kind of waiting to make this video because in my first impressions, I was thinking, well, maybe they'll patch some of these things with the Gauntlet in some sort of hotfix. As time and time has gone with Diablo 4, they keep on releasing like immediate hotfixes, which is really good, but at the end of the day, they should have had these things kind of fixed before the start. We're talking about the exploits where people are getting shrines before going into the Gauntlet and they could just go in. And not only that, but it's more so that I was waiting to see if they were going to mention anything with the Gauntlet with the most recent update that's coming out next Tuesday. And I was really excited to see what are they fixing over here. And they are fixing some of the things, like one of the glyphs doesn't even work for this season because the Seneschal is now considered a minion, so some of the things just weren't working, and some other bugs and other fixes were not being applied properly, so those are being fixed. But I'm like, okay, what is the rewards for the Gauntlets? Are they going to actually offer us good rewards for a point to even do the Gauntlet? Because some of the stuff that drops there is literally garbage that you would not pick up off of the ground, and you don't even get your cash until later. And is the cash dropping Uber Uniques? No. And it's so absolutely baffling that it came out in the state that it is. So this video is going to talk about the current problems, and I will still offer also solutions because I want this game to be better. Like, I'm a Diablo partner and I want the game to be good, but I'm just looking at what other, things have been commented on. I'm looking at like the like to dislike ratio on the Gauntlet. People are really mad about this. Even content creators that didn't even create the Gauntlet, just uploading a video over here on the official Diablo page, are actually getting downvoted, and people are really upset about this. I'm just looking at the comments over here. As soon as I saw this was just a reskin of another dungeon, I didn't even bother. And the reason why players are even more upset about this is this didn't come out at the start of the season. If this came out at the start of the season, I think people would be a little bit more lenient with it because there's, obviously other content to consume. But to have this pushed back again and again to get only one map, now I understand it does rotate, weekly here, but it's just a map that it's essentially a dungeon that you kill monsters and then you go collect their like orbs, just like you would normally do in a game where you'd have to collect the Nemus and you put it in the little like vessel and then it opens up the next door, right? And while there is some sort of way for people to compete on the leaderboards, there is a massive amount of other problems that this is going to actually introduce, as I'll bring them up. So this post over here that blew up, it's basically talking about that the rewards are absolutely junk, and I absolutely agree here. What's the point of this like end game content? And what I find even more strange is it's not even like Sigil 100 difficulty. So we're fighting monsters that are easier than the toughest thing in the game, but this is supposed to be the competitive mode that came out in the middle of the season when we're supposed to be super strong, and they said that they want players to be able to get their powers and get powerful before the Gauntlet comes out, so you guys will all be kind of more on an even playing field, which still doesn't make sense because Uber Uniques exist in the game unless they made like a separate leaderboard for, Uber Uniques and non-Uber Uniques. That would have been actually a lot better because then people can actually compete. They actually feel like they have a chance versus those people that have all the Uber Uniques and they got really lucky and got those drops, right? Versus some of the players that maybe just did a couple runs and they got it. But that's almost a subject for another day. But I think Uber Uniques need a massive rework in terms of like how they are acquired, because it doesn't really value the player's time. Doing 1,000+ Duriel runs is not what I would consider ideal endgame pinnacle content anyways. But again, the point of this is the same thing that I mentioned, which is like, what's the point if you're supposed to be like max level anyways and you're not even fighting max level monsters? And on top of that, you're not even getting good loot. And the worst part is you don't even get your loot anyways, even though loot is garbage, because it's not going to be, raining Uber Uniques as soon as you open it. Maybe there's a small chance. As far as we're aware of, you can't open them now, so you're going to have to wait. Unless people are getting Uber Uniques out of every single one of these, and you have to be able to place at a certain, placement to even get these in the first place, then those players already have those. So what's the point of those? I guess to make other characters, you can maybe build other, Uber Uniques. But I still think that Uber Uniques are basically the thing that is separating the people that may want to try to compete versus the players that are already having these items. So that's kind of a subject for another day. But some people are saying that the shrines and the layout, I really feel like this just looks kind of like a greater rift in Diablo 3 at the end of the day. And I wanted to see something nothing new. Like, you know, why did it take so long for them to just make like one map over here and just throw monsters and then you just get points? It basically is the same thing that we've already seen in previous Diablo games. With a new seasonal mid-season update, a new mode, I expect to see more than just like kind of rehashed of what we already had, which is again dungeons over here. And then they're mentioning that like picking up the keys feels really bad. And yeah, I absolutely agree that like, you know, trying to click on the keys, it should be as streamlined as possible. There's a reason why in Greater Rifts nothing drops, therefore, you know, you just get all of your stuff at the very end. That's what would make the game feel a little bit more competitive. But at the end of the day, I think that they could have added a lot more content in this. And then like they're saying that this is like unfinished, and they said that they wanted to wait. Again, this is what I find really strange, is like we had to wait so long for this. Remember, it got pushed back several times, and at the end of the day, it came out, and a lot of people were upset about it. Another thing I wanted to mention, as far as it goes with the Gauntlet, is I was actually checking to see if, you know, people were playing this, and this is on a Saturday. I just took this screenshot right here. So it's at the point where like we're barely at 1,000 viewers for Diablo, and I know that that doesn't mean that there's only 1,000 players in Diablo. There's no official page other than looking at Steam charts, which doesn't include the Battle.net launcher in terms of player base. But to me, this is very strange, and I was thinking, okay, well, I remember while I was streaming, someone was like, "Yo, Roblox has more viewers than Diablo 4," and I was like, no way. This was okay. This over here was taken again. This is today on a Saturday, and this was taken on the day of the Gauntlet, and lots of Diablo content creators, including myself, I played the Gauntlet for a couple hours, and I went right back into Last Epoch, and I want to enjoy the new Diablo content. I'm not saying that like Last Epoch is a bad game. I want Diablo 4 to be better. I like both of the games, okay? But at the end of the day, when Diablo has a new mid-season update, we're talking about Diablo, a very, very iconic game, on the launch of the brand new competitive mode. I expected it to be a lot better. I mean, Diablo was a top game for a while when it released, and that's normal with any game on Twitch, but to see this, and I just didn't believe it. I had to screenshot it because I was like, there's no way on the release of the Gauntlet that Roblox is more popular. There's no shade to Roblox either, okay? There are some cool games over there. But I was looking at what other people were saying, because I dropped my video talking about like the Gauntlet. I'm like, okay, it's fun for an hour or two, and then I was over it. I was actually more excited about building some of the newer builds, whether that be the Incinerate Sorceress, or even playing with the new Flurry Rogue, which I'm playing with over here in the Gauntlet. I was excited to kind of mess around with some of the newer stuff that came out. You know, not only did we get the Gauntlet, but we got a couple other things. But I would like to have seen a little bit more variety here, and people were saying that, like, make the loot and XP good. Because you can access it so early on, there's really no point, because you're not going to be placing on leaderboard, and you have to wait a week to get your rewards. And if anyone's being serious about this, remember, this is a competitive mode, which doesn't drop you any good items. You get a cache, but we don't know exactly what's inside the cache, unless it's dropping, again, raining Uber Uniques, or raining, like, Platinum, which is the in-game currency. I don't think most people will care about getting a 925. You could literally just go to a dungeon and get guaranteed 925s. It's not that big of a deal. They were asking for, like, add a map of the day rotation over here. As far as that goes, I don't know. I think the auto pickup would be much better, like all the keys and stuff. That was something that, you know, again, if they even did a test with the PTR with the Diablo partners, or just tested this out at all, I feel like most people that are competitive, that have placed on leaderboards, would immediately tell you, yeah, just auto pick up things, no potions. I used to do speed runs for Diablo when we had, like, on speedruns, because there was no official Diablo leaderboard, so we just went over to speedruns, and then we would post our, like, runs over there, and you weren't allowed to use potions over there, consumables, and that is another thing that I would like to have seen fixed over here. I think that that would be a, like, nice addition to see them actually address that. But I kind of share the same opinion as a lot of other people, that saying that it's a waste of time after a few times, because, again, what is the point? Unless you're rank 1, unless you are rank 1, or, like, you know, someone else beats you and you were just rank 1, now you're rank 2, and then you want to compete with them, I could kind of understand that. But so at that point, you're just making content for, like, the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. So is that really where you want to put your time? I think, you know, if they just did PvP, that would have been a much more exciting thing to engage with, where you can, like, queue up and you'd have some sort of, like, ranked system, MMR. That would have been more exciting than this, for me personally. This is another issue, making the Gauntlet profiles public. I mean, you have people that are literally trolling the leaderboards, removing pieces of gear after they place because it doesn't snapshot at the time. You can't even view their passive tree anyways, or their glyphs or anything. It's terrible. Like, if you wanted to look at the best build in Diablo 3, you could just view their profile, boom, you got it, right? Whereas this, it's like, well, I don't know, the guy just kind of removed all his stuff, and he's literally trolling people right now. You hit rank 1 or any of the top places, and you just remove pieces of gear, and then people can't follow your build. And there's also private profiles. People are pretty mad about this. They're saying if you want to set your profile to private, just don't even post it. Like, you would just be removed from the leaderboard. And that's an interesting take on it. Here's how I feel about it. For me, I never gatekeep. If I know I have a good build, like I've uploaded multiple rank 1 placements in Diablo 3, and I would give you guys the build. You know, it helps me out as a YouTuber. But I think that it's really funny that they have this system where you're supposed to be able to view the best builds in the game, and then people just remove their gear so you can't even see the build, or they can swap it and completely troll you over here. So I think that that's kind of an interesting thing. I was trying to check out their feedback to see if they were going to comment on any of the things that people were talking about and kind of address the situation with the Gauntlet. And I was looking up, this was a post talking about like the Gauntlet run, and people, well, first, how it goes is on X or Twitter, it will go off of like if they respond to your comment. And I was looking at basically the top comments on this over here, and this was counting Activision Blizzard as part of like the responses. But a lot of the top comments over here to some of the posts over on X, going to be brutally honest and say that there was a big waste of time and energy. And they're, again, referring to this Gauntlet run over here. It's like nothing but negativity, to be honest. Now I'm using it to force myself to not launch D4 and play Last Epoch instead, thanks anyways. And I didn't sort these by any other like metric. I mean, it's just like whatever's on the top. But just calculating how much cool armor or mount should be instead of making it obtainable for everyone. So I don't know why that it's set up this way, and this was basically them announcing like the patch notes over here. How about not spawning me 30 miles away? No, thank you. I'm gonna go play Last Epoch. Like it's so evident. Like whoever's managing their social media needs to relay this info that people are not happy with this. People are very upset. Even going to this over here again, it goes over the responses from Diablo, and there's this one over here saying that it's like the worst Diablo and one of the biggest gaming disappointments in recent memory, and that's pretty bad. I mean, there's one positive one over here where it's saying that, like, you know, I've been playing since launch, I've been enjoying it, especially since the story, can't wait for the Vessel of Hatred. Honestly, I'm looking forward to the expansion, and I want to say this. With Diablo, a lot of the expansions add a lot more content, like specifically, even if we go to D2. D2 is one of my favorite games, but if you don't add Lord of Destruction with the game, it is not nearly as good. And then this other person saying Last Epoch. Like, a lot of people are just saying Last Epoch, and as much as I enjoy Last Epoch, it is very evident that the Diablo community is upset because not that many people are even watching Diablo, and I feel really bad because it's very evident right here, and it's super clear that they need to address this situation with like the downvoting on their, you know, YouTube. I'm not saying that they need to say, guys, we see the dislikes, we're going to be fixing things, but just come out and say, we hear you guys, we want some changes to the Gauntlet, we're going to be making actual forms of, you know, endgame content. And here's where I want to actually give some feedback on what they could actually do. So as far as the Gauntlet goes, it's the way that it is. I don't think they're going to rework the whole thing. Well, I would love for them to like rework and do a lot more things. You need to add actual great rewards, and these rewards need to be added either daily or you just get it when you place, because at the end of the day, does anyone want to wait a week for your reward? No. The point of playing an action RPG is you play, you get the loot, and you feel good, you get your upgrades, right? So I think that they need to give substantial rewards, whether they want to offer in-game free platinum for some of the people that place, because at that point, what is there to give the player that already has all the Uber uniques? There's really nothing. So if they gave them skins, that would be kind of cool, or maybe super rare skins that you can only obtain from it. Again, this is only favoring the people that could place, which is just a handful anyways. So is that the right solution to it? I don't know, but I want to say that there needs to be some sort of rewards for the players that, you know, already have the Uber uniques. Opening up a cache is not a great reward. Again, especially if you're just giving them 925, it is laughably bad. And it's almost on the same level if you guys have played any like the Midwinter Blight or any of these little like, you know, lunar events, and you're like, wow, dude, I get 20,000 gold. What is 20,000 going to do when this is not released at the very beginning of the season? Even then, 20,000 gold is nothing. If you go to Diablo trade, you're going to need millions and millions of gold to get really, really good GG items in the first place. But like, I can't even as a casual player, if I was a casual player, get some of the rewards, like, you know, a couple 100,000 gold to reroll one of my pieces of gear at the end game if I've rerolled it a couple times. And it's just a huge disconnect from the people that actually genuinely play the game versus who's ever making these rewards. Who's ever's like, okay, we're going to put a cache in here. They're going to get 3 random yellow items, but they're all 925. Like, if they were all guaranteed to be 925, roll perfect stats, and then maybe you would have some people kind of excited about it. The people going to the Gauntlet that are already placing are already going to have the best pieces of gear. So I think that that is kind of like a bad setup for the rewards, but here's what would be actually a good update. We need new bosses, new skills in the game. I think that would be really cool. New uniques, new legendaries, no new uber uniques, because at this point, I want to say that most people don't have the mindset of, oh, there's a new uber unique, I'm going to get it. It's more like, I don't even want to bother playing, man. Like, I'm not going to get it. It's a cool item, but I want actual new content. At the end of the day, this is something that we've seen before in Diablo 3. I want something brand new. The point of a new update and a new mid-season thing is to get people interested in playing the game again, not doing the same exact thing that you've been doing before. Maybe it would be cool to see some sort of a mode where you are hunting bosses, or some sort of like PvP VE where you have to race against other people. Even if they threw in a battle royale or just anything that is actually brand new to either the action RPG genre or Diablo. I just don't want to do, okay, we have kind of a system similar to Greater Rifts again. I want something brand new. That's what I would like to have seen. At the end of the day, no more dungeons. I think that I'm kind of over it. I'm curious to know how you guys feel about the dungeon system that they kind of implemented in with the new Gauntlet. Does it kind of feel like a dungeon to you? Because at the end of the day, I'm over the way that it is set up, and I want there to be, a reason to come back into the game if, you hopped off, you're like, okay, I'm kind of over the season, I'm going to wait for Season 4 of Diablo. There needs to be a bigger incentive to kind of come back versus just like what they've implemented. But that's my personal thoughts, and that's why people are pretty upset, and why I'm not personally really playing the Gauntlet, and that's why I'm also just playing Last Epoch. But I want this game to be better, so here's my suggestion. Actual new content, if that makes sense. Like, I know this is technically newer content, but it needs to be delivered in a completely new way. Maybe there's new monsters that you have to fight that are actually really hard, and you have to dodge every single one of their attacks or something. It needs to just be more engaging for true endgame competitive content versus, oh, we're fighting monsters that are level 124. Look, like, even with the new Flurry build, with it relatively min-maxed over here, I mean, it's nowhere near what, some of the other builds can do. Like, right now, Barrage is like the top meta build, but nonetheless, there it is. That's my thoughts on it. But you guys can let me know yours down below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts on any of the subjects that we talked about. If you're new here and you want to see more of my content, hit subscribe to the bell. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.